I'm LeAnne Howe, the UGA's Department of English, and I teach in the creative writing program, and I teach native literature. I would like to thank the UGA Eidson Foundation Funds for making this event possible, and I would like also to thank Christine, where is she? Christine, for all the hard work she has done in getting Dean's books here. My God Almighty, it was right down to the wire, but we did it. It's not officially out until next month, and so everybody worked hard to get them here, and especially Christine. So thank you very much for all of her work in making this premiere book launch reading for Dean Rader's newest book, Self-Portrait as Wikipedia Entry from Copper Canyon Press. And I'm going to move this along because we're running behind, but what in the world can I say about Dean Rader? You know, I've known him about 150 years. Y'all are supposed to laugh. 150 years. I'm going to say that again. Thanks, Ed. Vampires. And we're vampires. Dean, man, you have led the life. When I first met Dean Rader, he was the ice skating champion for the famed Indians on Ice. Wow. You think I'm kidding. I'm not. And you guys could loosen up a little bit and laugh. These are my jokes. Yeah, when I let it slip at an academic conference, someone shouted from the audience, "Amazing! These fellows are usually really short." And that rumor went around for years at conferences that we attended. So it's kind of amazing what he's done since then, since this ice skating career.
That's right. Just really around one way.
But stylishly.
Stylishly, yeah.
Silent.
I resigned on top.
Yes, he did. It was a cute little outfit. Okay, I'm going to get down to business and I'm going to tell the real story. And you can ask him all those tough questions about ice skating later in the Q&A. So Dean Rader has published widely in the fields of poetry, American Indian studies, and popular culture. His debut collection of poems, Works and Days, won the 2010 T.S. Eliot Prize and was a finalist for the Bob Bush Memorial Award for the first book of poems, and also won the 2010 Writers League of Texas Poetry Prize. His most recent chapbook, A Landscape Portrait Figure Form from Omni Dawn, was named by Barnes & Noble's review as one of the best poetry books of 2013. I truly got to meet Dean, like I said, 150 years ago, and when he was working on a book with Janice Gould that he co-edited, Speak to Me Words, Essays on Contemporary American Indian Poetry, University of Arizona Press. Now, that was 2003. It is the first study of American Indian poets ever done that I know of. You're looking at me. Do you know of another? Okay.
Certainly it wasn't the first.
You don't think so? Well, we'll argue about that later. And it was wonderfully successful and really impressed me as a scholar and a poet, looking at ways to further kind of the knowledge base about American Indians and American Indian poetry. He's done a hell of a lot since even before that. The World is a Text, co-written with Jonathan Silverman, which is now currently about to enter its 5th edition. His another recent scholarly book engaged resistance, American Indian art, literature, and film from Alcatraz to NMAI was published in 2011 from the University of Texas. Another great book and another scholarly series of essays on American Indian art. And I think this is really interesting about the scholar and also the poet. So I'm going to come back to his poetry. His newest collection of poems, Self-Portrait as Wikipedia entry, is now out. It officially debuts next month. Suture is something else that I'm really interested in as someone who dabbles in poetry. It's a collection of collaborative poems written with Simone Minch. And it's forthcoming in April 2017 with Black Lawrence Press. And one of the things we talked about in our seminar last semester was that the poems that they have dubbed Frankenstein Sonnets, he and Simone, have appeared or will appear in a myriad of publications, but there's actually 3 narrators, the original work and the work that's written around the work by 2 authors. So I'd love to hear you talk more about that. I think that's kind of an amazing project to work on, these Frankenstein Sonnets, which so cool to think about it in that way. Rader's also the editor of 99 Poems for the 99%, an anthology of poetry. He is a dear friend and a well-known scholar. And I really credit him with helping me become the writer I am today, because he pushed me on issues of genre. And so I'd like for UGA to give a warm welcome to my friend and colleague and poet, Dean Rader.
A few times, almost everything LeAnne Howe said was true. Well, it's great to be here. Happy birthday, right? Isn't it UGA's birthday tomorrow?
Oh, it's Angela Davis.
That's what I meant. She's going to be here any minute, right? How awesome.
Got better.
Really?
I mean, not to come to UGA. I mean, Georgia. I shut up.
Whatever. It's lovely to be back. So I love Athens. I used to live here ages ago. And this is an important place for me because I finished writing my dissertation in your library on this campus. And now my new book is sort of greeting the world, not on your campus, but in this town. So in some ways, my writing projects are bookended by you. So thank you for coming. It's a great turnout. It's lovely to see you. You could be doing anything right now, like hanging out with Angela Davis, but you're here. And I feel really lucky. I literally had not seen this book until today. We went to the bookstore and picked it up. It's due out February 7th, the big AWP writing conference, but when Copper Canyon heard about this reading, they printed a few advanced copies and shipped them, and they arrived literally like yesterday, the day before. So I really hadn't held it in my hands until a couple hours ago. So I had to kind of figure out what to read. So I'm going to read mostly from the book, but I'm going to read a couple of the Frankenstein Sonnets. I'm happy to answer questions at the end, but also if you have questions or requests during the regular part of the evening, feel free to raise your hand. I'm a professor, so I like questions. So my book is called Self-Portrait as Wikipedia Entry, and it's concerned with, ironically, kind of fake information, apocryphal information. and how identity is formed. And I think some of the questions it asks is, it's also really interested in art, and it uses art as a metaphor a lot. And what the main question it asks is, when you sketch the self, to what degree are you using the palette or the brush of nationhood? Like to what degree is the individual part of a context or a place? So the book uses a lot of poems that have self-portrait in the title, uses the language that poetry and painting in particular share, line, figuration, form, portraiture, still life. I'm really interested in the things that poetry and painting share. And this is a poem called Apocryphal Self-Portrait, and it's got an epigraph from Mark Twain. I live in San Francisco, by the way, and this is the most famous quote about San Francisco, I think. And you guys might know this. The coldest winter I ever saw was the summer I spent in San Francisco. You all know this, right? Well, Mark Twain never said it. No one knows who said it. He missed an opportunity. But he didn't say it. So it's apocryphally attributed to Mark Twain. So this is Apocryphal Self-Portrait. The darkest night of my life was that morning in your car. My heart would not stop storming. You said it was climate change. I may not be able to prove you wrong, but that doesn't mean the end is near. The end is always near. I read somewhere that the sum of the earth's water will never change. Nothing is taken away, nothing added. Every drop is the same age, every age died in the same drop. The cut-up clouds, stretched and strung out, have had about enough. Each day is a boat on a lake that we row ourselves into. We try to pick at the scab of sunlight itching overhead, but we can't take our eye off the little crack in the hull we know keeps growing. The Buddha says, every place we've been, we stay. Right now, he's in my dream, sitting alone at an empty table, my tiny chair about to collapse beneath him. Mark Twain walks into the room looking exactly like Colonel Sanders. In one hand, he cradles a bucket of chicken. In the other, he carries an axe. The heaviest weight is the lightness of the soul, he says to the Buddha. Give in to the dark, the Buddha replies, and you won't feel the darkness. The longest drive we ever took was that evening we parked next to the cliff. The sidereal dashboard, the cracked windshield of the body. I want you to know that it is never the darkest right before the dawn. I want you to know the truth about everything. I want you to know that when those memories drop down, my umbrella opens. So LeAnne and I are both from the great state of Oklahoma. And great in finger quotes. We're just lamenting how our state is not as great as it used to be. And this is a ghazal about Oklahoma. And if you don't know this literary form, it's an ancient Middle Eastern literary form that has kind of three components. It's written in couplets. Each couplet is kind of its own standalone thing. The last word of every couplet is the same throughout. You will catch this very quickly. And then third, the poet inserts his or her name into the last couplet. So when you hear me say Dean Rader, you will know, blessedly, that we're at the end. All right, and so this is called Cartography, or American Allegory 1. And there are lots, the book is divided into 5 sections, and every section has a poem called American Allegory. Once upon a time in Oklahoma, there was no such thing as Oklahoma. When I look out off the coast of California, I am standing on our farm in Hinton, Oklahoma. Oklahoma? Answer, because Texas sucks and Kansas blows. Question, why is it so windy in Oklahoma? All roads might lead to Rome, but all trails take you to Oklahoma. The stars are dragged along in their wagons of dust, the moon on its cot, the last long light of Oklahoma. Pawhuska, Nayuka, Wewoka, Tologa, Ulaga, Okima, Eufaula. Oh, the missing maps of Oklahoma. Knife wind, ice wind, blind wind, hatchet wind, stone wind, skin wind, dust wind, and must wind all whisper Oklahoma. I think of Bruce Snyder floating above the corn of Indiana. Is he waving at Jesus rising above the wheat of Oklahoma? I have often wondered if there is more oil or blood beneath the soil of Tulsa, Oklahoma. My second baptism was in the First Baptist Church. My first was in the summer rains of Oklahoma. State amphibian, bullfrog. State beverage, milk. State soil, port silt loam. State mammal, bison. State song, Oklahoma. The first dead body I saw was my friend Kevin Wright's. I was 6 years old in a funeral home in Weatherford, Oklahoma. It is time to talk about the scent of Denise Barker's cautious skin. It was like mist on a summer sidewalk in Oklahoma. Recently uncovered manuscript from Ovid in which the gods learned to play football in Oklahoma. Where are you, Rhonda Harder, first girl to kiss me? I'm sorry your name became a joke for the boys of Oklahoma. Put down your pen, Lord Death. The names of my parents are not yet on your list for Oklahoma. If you ask me what one is to do with this world, I will tell you the answer is not to be found in Oklahoma. Poem of the open prairie, couplet of the spread out sky, metaphor of mistletoe and milkweed. Who will write Oklahoma? God has bequeathed himself to the great leaves of Sonoma and the fog of San Francisco. Is his next gift to Oklahoma? My grandfather and my son share the name Dean Rader. This morning, my son sinks into our bright bed. My grandfather into the dark dirt of Oklahoma. I don't know if I've read this next poem out loud before to humans. I like this poem. It's a sonnet. It's about sound and maybe death. It's called Self-Portrait at the End. Black bell, ring the blue boat of my bones back to the beach of this world. Make me an ear so that I might hear the sound from the deepest. Make me a mouth. Don't let me drown. Don't let me sink the way lives sink, the way the dead drop into the humblest end of the end when the wind rips the road. Make me bend the way notes bend, the way waves blend into the long crash of the last song, the way the body bows to the blur of sea and air. Oh, bless you. All right, so I don't write in closed forms very often, but I had this line that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't get out of my head. It was stalking me. And the line was this: the universe has not been built to scale. And I thought, oh, I'll just see if I can write a villanelle. And so this is a villanelle. And I just discovered it's on the back of my book. So I'm just going to read it off. I'm going to read it off the back. I guess I'm okay with that. I mean, I am not someone who writes villanelles. And so I don't know if people are going to pick up my book and say, the villanelle guy. and put it down. Or if they'll say, oh, the Villanelle guy, and like, he's not nearly as cool as Dylan Thomas, but. This is called Relational Self-Portrait, and also has a kind of nautical metaphor, I suppose. I live really close to the ocean in San Francisco. I live right in the city. I live very close to the ocean. And the only place in all of California where I feel like I'm back looking at a wheat field in Oklahoma is at the ocean. It's very similar. I go out and look at the horizon, and there's this kind of undulation in the wind that reminds me of this very flat, these wheat fields near where I grew up. So I wind up writing a lot about the sea. I'm kind of obsessed with it. And this is called Relational Self-Portrait. I'm just reading from the back of my book. The universe has not been built to scale. Everything is bigger or smaller than it seems. The sea, the hull, a ship, a sail, your line, the hook, your heart. That's where the nail of desire drives deep. Sorrow can span a universe that is not built to scale, even though rungs are strung from star to shell and back. We end, of course, where we began, that ship, that hull, that sea. And so we sail full speed toward the iceberg, too fast to tell if size or scale or course is plot or plan. The universe will not be built to scale. The dead in heaven, the living in hell, blaze and burn in the blue of all that can rise and fall. The ship of this life will sail until the stern snaps beneath the stretched swell at the end of the end. We find out then the universe has not been built to scale, and that our want expands like wind, not sail. So LeAnne mentioned that I've been working on this project with the great poet from Chicago, Simone Mensch. And our book is called Suture. It's coming out in April. And we worked on this for about 2 years. And we were calling these poems, they're collaborative sonnets. And the way it works is this. Simone would email me a line from a previously published sonnet, usually by a fairly well-known poet. And that line would become the first line of our poem. So if she sent me the line, that would become the first line, then I would write the next 3 lines to finish out the quatrain. I would email it back to her. She'd write 4 lines, email it back to me. And then I would have the choice of either writing 3 and sending it back to her for her to finish the final 3, or for me to write 4 and send it back to her and for her to finish with the couplet. So the first person would establish the rhyme scheme, the metrical issues, if there were any, and then the other would sort of have to, pick up the ball where the other left it. And we would always try to fuck with the other one. Sort of end the line hanging. And I would always say, oh, I've got her this time. She'll never come up with, a response to my last word being what or something. And she always exceeded my expectations. Yes, question?
Would the line that she emailed, would it usually be the first line of another sonnet, or was it often like something?
I would say it's a great question, half and half. So usually her line, and almost every line I sent her was the first line of a sonnet. I like that symmetry. She would kind of play around with it and just send me a random line. And it would become the first line. And so we started calling these poems the Frankenstein Sonnets because it was a suturing of the old and the new, and in some cases the living and the dead. So every poem has 3 voices, the original poet and then the 2 of us. And so we also loved this idea of this kind of poetic lineage, right? Sort of suturing together of all these past and current voices. Just a range of poets, both American and non-American. So I'm going to read 3 of these poems, if that's okay. Mostly because I think, did we talk about this when I Skyped in with your class?
Yes.
I think a lot of students are interested in this notion of collaboration. I'm increasingly interested in it. So this is a poem with a line from Gerard Manley Hopkins. And all the poems are titled with the first line. The descending blue, that blue is all in a rush. And Simone sent me this line, and then I responded. So there's the Hopkins line and then me. The descending blue, that blue is all in a rush, like an arrow of blue, blown black, blown through, like a black of blue, a blear, a bleed, a crush of blue. Now you. Bend the bow, make it true into the blackest bullseye, midnight dipped into pitch, the darkening iris, glossy and filled with augury, like a black-tipped fin, cutting the sea into blue foam frenzy. To fall through to flux, to dive deep into the hive, the honey of blood's blue buzz, wave upon wave, wing upon wing, to live lost in the swim and soar of love's last blue. The final blue line cannot be deferred. Oh, to swan dive into the drowse and blur. And this is from a line, a Rita Dove poem. And the line is, this is for the woman with one black wing. And I sent this to Simone. This is for the woman with one black wing, sutured to rain, singing wet elegies aimed at her younger selves when she smiled bee-sting bright for the framed photos hooded in flame. This is for the flame, and for the flame inside of the flame, perhaps even for the self inside of self, for the name, but not the rain or the wing or the war, or the reply from a dead eye. This is for anodyne, the caress, the return from the shadow inside the song, darkest scar of midnight's gnawing, where we learn to see beyond sight. This is for flight, for day, for night, for more. This is for the door. And this is from a poem by Edna St. Vincent Millay. And I think I sent this line to Simone, which surprises me because I don't really know much about Edna St. Vincent Millay. Hearing your words and not a word among them. It's a good line though, right? Hearing your words and not a word among them. Just birds that have flown beyond the realm of human acquisition, disappearing with your body in smoke rings of evaporative beauty that neither rises nor rescinds, that both bleeds and burns. Light the match of my mouth with everything you have to say. Light this long distance with your darkness. Strike up your song. Let the animals come as the forest burns blackness back into gold foil filigree. Turn down the deathbed. In the inside of being, our bodies green with leaf stain, you will sing in me. Muted muse, dormant and deleted muse, let me start where voices end.
Question.
Yes.
If it was a poem with which you were familiar, or a poem that you knew well, that you got the line from, did you find that you then had a hard time seeing the line outside of the context that you knew?
Oh yeah, it was the worst. And she would mess with me. She would send me poems by poets I really liked, like Wallace Stevens, Pablo Neruda, and you'd have to sort of get those out of your head. And there was always, so I would just get the line. I didn't get the poem, I would just get the line. And so the temptation was to Google the line. Like, who wrote the line? Where did it come from? Because it was just, I would get an email from her that would have like 10 lines. And I was like, and I had to pick one and respond to it. And it was really hard because, on one hand, I loved this assignment because, I don't know, you guys know this, right? You have 45 minutes. And you can't do anything in 45 minutes, but you can write 3 lines, right? You can't start a new poem, really, maybe, but you're not going to be happy with it. So, I would get these things on my email, and I would look at them, and I would sort of, a line would jump out, so I'd sort of carry it around in my head. And when I had a moment, I would try to respond to the line. Very rarely would I go look up the line to see who wrote it. Sometimes I would recognize it because I knew she was trying to mess with me. But almost always it went in a different direction. And whenever I thought I had teed her up for an obvious response, she never went the way I thought she would, ever. And I always thought her lines were always weirder than mine. Hers were hard to predict, and darker. She has this kind of goth sensibility that I don't have. So hers were always weirder, and I thought, I don't know, added a kind of, I don't know, sense of divinity, I suppose. But anyway, I love this book. No one will read it, I don't think. No one reads collaborative sonnets, but I thought it was a lot of fun to write. And I really, really recommend it. I make my students do this assignment. And they love it. And it makes for really good poems. And it forces you to be ethical, right? You do not want to let the other down. But it's often, when someone starts a poem for you, you're like, whew, I don't have to start that poem. I just have to write 4 lines and give it back. That's liberating. But then you have to end it, right? And you don't want to ruin it. Speaking of ruining it, do you guys know the Choose Your Own Adventure books? Okay. So this poem, does anyone not know the Choose Your Own Adventure books? Is this a mystery? You don't know? Does anyone, who wants to explain the Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Basically a series of books, especially children's books, where at the very end of the page, you'll read it, it'll have a huge cliffhanger that's, okay, well, do you want him to go and open the drink and drink it, or do you think that you shouldn't trust the man giving him the drink? And based on what you choose, the story might have a different ending and the plot will go along in a different way.
Yeah, so it's a series of children's books, and you're in the jungle, and you've come to this impasse, and if you want to go over the mountains, you turn to page 72. If you're going to take a canoe down the river, you turn to page 89.
So is this like hopscotch? Or,
Oh, the Cortázar book? No, but yes, kind of. Anyway, this poem is not as cool as those, but it steals the title. This is called The Poem Chooses Its Own Adventure. And now the poem is on a bus somewhere in Marrakesh, scratching its way along one of the old roads south of the Jema Elfina. No one recognizes it, of course. The poem is unshaven, sandaled, and wearing a poncho. On its head, a maroon fez. Who knows the last time the poem bathed? It could be weeks. The poem smells like your ass. If you want the poem to smell like something else, you have to skip down 7 lines. You would not have chosen Morocco for the poem. You hate sardine balls. And you're convinced people only eat couscous because it sounds funny. The poem is tired of you. It needed to get away. You ask so much of it these days. Your demands are extravagant. You wanted the poem to take you to Paris. You entertained fantasies of coffee and croissants. You had even spoken to your friends of élan and joie de vivre. But when is the last time you did anything for the poem? It's always about you. It still is, even now, in line 19. You can't get past your own expectations. But the poem has needs of its own. It's like a dog that was born on a leash. It's like a dog. It's like a leash. Snap it on, tell it to bark, tell it to lie down, make it beg. You forced it to sleep outside its whole life, and now the poem is in a jungle in Bolivia, an ashram in Orissa, a whorehouse in Amsterdam. You didn't even know you wanted a poem with the word whorehouse in it, but the poem did, and that's the difference. It's about care, it's about attention, It's about giving. And let's face it, you are a taker. And so the poem is golfing in Orlando, hiking in the Alps. If you want a poem that inspires you, that rocks your world, you have chosen the wrong poem. The poem has had it with you. It's rolling a joint for Ginsberg. It's digging its way out of the Dust Bowl. It's fighting for the Confederates. It's helping Geronimo shoot a white man. It's killed Lewis and is seducing Clark's wife. The poem picks evasion. It selects erasure. It opts for abandonment. It wants you out of its life. It's decided it was wrong about beauty. And though it might be indifferent to love, it's coming back for glory. And now the poem is in the back seat of a cab. Your address and the GPS. Its sideburns are longer. It's wearing a dress. Its fur glistens in the blue lights of the dashboard. It's on all fours. You are fast asleep in front of the television. And now it's line 43, and the poem is tired of playing games. And so it is finally decided, despite everything you might have expected, to end it all right here.
How do you spell choose? Is that E-W-S or O-O-S-E?
That's a good one. O-O-S-E. But I like the homonym. That's good. Choose its own, yeah. Can I steal that? All right.
All yours.
Thank you. All right, this poem's sort of self-explanatory. This poem appeared in the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day not too long ago.
Yes.
Oh man, I don't remember. It was in 2016. I don't remember the day. And you'll all know, you'll know the events I'm talking about in the title. So the title is called Self-Portrait in Charleston, Orlando. Pardon? Yeah. Self-Portrait in Charleston, Orlando. The news this morning said that Ramadi had fallen to ISIS, and that the president did not have a plan to push them back into the Anbar province. Though I have a plan to walk down to the beach, in silence perhaps, where I will stand and water the temperature of most corpses and look out over the shapeless ocean, its waves shifting from one color to the next, this moment the shade of an old bruise, toward Japan, which I imagine I see across the map of motion, that mythical country which has almost completely rid itself of guns, like the one the boy used to shoot 9 people assembled to worship a man whose skin, history tells us, was the same color as theirs. That mythical man who may have walked the streets of Ramadi in those missing years between his youth and his destiny. And who knows how many of the slain he may have raised in those streets, or pulled up out of night into the long daylight of the not yet lived, birthed back into the skin of suffering. Or how many men the man might have dipped into those mythical waters that eventually emptied into the Gulf of Oman and then into the Arabian Sea before their long walk of waves across time and history to South Carolina and into Charleston, before retreating to work their way down the eastern coast of Florida and perhaps even inland to Orlando, and then back out again around every country, every boat, every body, before arriving on the beaches of San Francisco on the far end of the other side of that mythical continent, perhaps even where I am standing, the waters color like a bullet. And I wonder whether all life is somehow loaded into the chamber of a rifle, the long tunnel of darkness before us, our birthright, and even our destiny. all of it, as close to the hammer as the width of these lines, themselves an inheritance of something I am only now beginning to understand, like an insurrection that no one saw, not even those in it, not even the man with his hand on the trigger, or the people ready to rise. After those shootings, I was thinking about the really complicated history of the slave trade, gun violence, race, America, Christianity, how they were all mixed together. This poem takes its title from a Pablo Neruda poem called, in Spanish, the poem is America no invoco sin, another word in Spanish. In vano. No invoco tu nombre in vano. America, I do not speak your name without hope. And I wrote this after the murders of Eric Garner and Michael Brown. But this wound up getting published in the San Francisco Chronicle 2 days after the presidential election. And it's kind of taken on this new life that I hadn't really intended. But we live in a strange time. This is called America, I Do Not Call Your Name Without Hope, after Neruda. America, I do not call your name without hope, not even when you lay your knife against my throat or lace my hands behind my back, the cuffs connecting us like two outlaws trying to escape history's white horse, its heavy whip, a pistol shot in the ear. Lost land. This is a song for the scars on your back, for your blistered feet and beautiful watch. It is for your windmills, your magic machines, for your fists. It is for your wagon of blood, for your dogs and their teeth of fire, for your sons and the smoke in their hearts. This is for your verbs, your long lurk, your whir. This is for you and your fear, your tar, for the white heat in your skin, and for your blue bones that one day may sing. This is for your singing. This is for the past, but not for what's past. This is for daybreak and backbreak, for dreams and for darkness. This song is not for your fight, but it is a song for fighting. It is a song of flame, but not for burning. It is a song out of breath, but a plea for breathing. It is the song I will sing when you knock on my door, my son's name in your mouth. All right, I feel like I'm taking too long up here. I want to read 2 more poems. I'm grateful for LeAnne Howe. She's been a great supporter of my work for many years. She's a really amazing writer and scholar and thinker and mentor and teacher. Her craziness is part of her charm, and I love her. And we thank you for bringing me, by the way. This is great to be here. So this is a poem called American Self-Portrait 5, and it is a letter to LeAnne about Oklahoma. It comes near the end of my book. So thank you for inviting me and for all your help over the years. Dear LeAnne, this is the day when Oklahoma gives everything back. They're returning the rotunda, the myriad gardens, and both Cherokee trading posts. By the way, I apologize in advance. This is full of Oklahoma stuff. Just gonna have to, like all stuff in Oklahoma. They're giving back the oil wells and Sooner Stadium, the Cowboy Hall of Fame, Cattleman Steakhouse, Oak Tree Golf Course, and Falls Creek. They're returning Jim Inhofe. You guys know who he is, right? Mary Fallon and Frank Keating, returning the National Lighter Museum and Oral Roberts University, giving back Lil Red, Garth Brooks, and Reba McEntire, giving back the interstates and the shopping malls, the windmills, the livestock farms, the Aggies, the rifles, the Murrah Building, the fracking, Tinker Air Force Base, and the Republicans. If only. They're giving it all back. The red dirt, the blistered sky, the bent back trees, the stars in their cave of bones, and the ropes, and the guns, and the hoods, and the plows. The returning Indian City, USA, Enterprise City, Phillips 66, Love's Convenience Stores, Frontier City, Whitewater, and the SAEs. You may remember that. They're returning all the dust, giving back 1907, 1936, and the entire decade of the 1880s. They're revoking the Dawes Act, the Homestead Act, the Oklahoma Organic Act. They're returning all the chicken fried steak, the Ford F-150s, the 3.2 beer, the cherry limeades, and yes, even the mullets. They're giving back all the perch and the crappie, the brown bears and the deer. They're giving back mountains and chicken hawks, ground squirrels, bison and raccoon, lakes and buffalo grass, summer blast and black ice. Trucks, schooners, hoes, hatchets, dugouts, dirt devils, scars, parcels, acres, all of it. Everything, LeAnne, everything, even textbooks and statues, bridges and buildings, drive-ins and movie screens, Broadway songs, airports, fried onion hamburgers, footballs, bombs, the E-3 aircraft, all the headstones and all of the dams. And they're giving back the dead and the shovels we used to bury them. And they're giving back the dead and the bullets. And they're giving back the dead and the blankets. And they're giving back the dead. 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 Woo! All right, I'm going to end on a happier poem. My wife works in Silicon Valley, and she's often asked what her husband does, and she always likes to say, oh, he's a poet. She doesn't say I'm a professor, or anything. She says he's a poet. And her response, mostly from women, is, oh, that is so awesome. You must get love poems all the time. And she says, well, it really doesn't work that way. So, I don't know, I was feeling guilty about that. So everything in this poem is true. I was thinking about that as I was sort of reading about this and thinking about Dante. And so this poem has an epigraph from Dante. And it's this from the Purgatorio. The heavens call to you and revolve about you, showing to you their eternal beauties, and your eye is still gazing upon the earth. So thank you very much for coming. This has been a real treat for me. This is a great day. I love that you're here. I love that I'm reading this book with you. I'm happy to take questions afterwards. I'm grateful. And in the spirit of that, this poem is called Still Life with Gratitude. One day, the scientists tell us every star in the universe will burn out, the galaxies gradually blackening until the last light flares and falls, returning the all to darkness, where it will remain until the end of what we have come to think of as time. But even in the dark, time would go on, bold in its black cloak. No shade, no shadow, only the onward motion of movement, which is what time, if it exists at all, really is. The absence of reversal, the sheer impossibility of that final fire dying into itself, dragging the day deep into what it no longer is, vowing only to rise into the other, into a shining the heavens were commanded to host. The entire, always poised between the gravity of upward and downward, like the energy of a star itself, constantly balanced between its weight, straining to crush its core, and the heat of that same core heaving it outward. As though what destroys redeems, what collapses also radiates. Not unlike this life, love, which we are traveling through at such an astonishing speed. Entire galaxies racing past, universes. It is as if we are watching time itself drift into the cosmos, like a spinning wall of images already gone. And I realize most of what we know we can't see, like the birdsong overhead, or the women in China building iPhones, or the men picking strawberries in the early dawn, or even our sleeping sons in the next room who will wake and ask for their lightsabers. Death will come for us so fast, we will never be able to outrun it, no matter how far we travel or how heavily we arm ourselves against the invisible. Which is what I'm thinking, love, as I watch you sleep, knowing the iron in the blood that keeps you alive was born from a hard star death somewhere in the past. That is also the future. And what I mean to say is that I am so lucky to be living with you in this brief moment of light before everything goes dark. Thank you.